Hi, everyone. Hello, Hamza. Yay, he's coming on board. I'm starting the recording now. So, my name is Tina Amper. I am a community builder and a community consultant. I blog about my writings and my learnings on communitymanagementinstitute.com, but I'm a freelance consultant. I work with software companies that build products for communities, and my advocacy is in helping community professionals get better training and new folks that want to get in the industry to attend these community management courses. Because when I started building communities 9 years ago, there was no such thing. So I thought I'd promote all these formal training programs to make it easier for everybody to get on board and to make it easier for them to build thriving communities. So I want to invite Denise and Hamza to do just a quick introduction.
Sure. Good morning, Denise Wiseman, and new to community building. Just now starting to launch my concept, my idea for healthcare professionals who focus in on patient experience. So, gathering here today to learn from others, to meet others in the community, and just really dive in.
Thank you. Hamza?
Tina, can you hear me?
Yes.
That's good. That's good to know. Thank you so much. My name is Hamza Shamsi from Rawalpindi, Pakistan. I'm a community manager at Spiritual Psychology Pakistan, which is a community of some psychology professionals, some mind scientists, especially, and we actually promote the material and the exercises, the meditation for mental health. Right? And we conduct workshops, online seminars, physical seminars in person, that kind of stuff.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So today's topic for office hours is, you know, time-saving tips for community managers, because our industry it tends to be very hectic, and if you're a lone community manager working with a community, there seems to be a lot of jobs and things to do, and how do you prioritize while also maintaining and keeping your own sanity, right, Hamza, and making sure you're thriving as an individual so that you can also facilitate thriving communities. And I can share two to three things that I consider it as saving time. My niche usually in community building is in the process and on the people. The tools, because the software tools are just coming on board. I've used Mighty Networks and I've used some of the other event tools, but I would like to share with you time saving tips that I use when I organize my events. So, my community was events focused. So I did a lot of meetups, and I want to start with what business goal am I trying to solve with these time saving tips that I'm doing, right? So I always want to start with that. I want to start with what's the big goal? Why am I trying to save time? For me, one of the goals that I have is stickiness, like people coming back to my event, people coming back to my community and not dropping off, because it's hard enough as it is to get them on board. And once we get them on board, we don't want to lose them. We want to continue to provide value for these folks and make sure that we are all in sync as to why we're joining the event. So in my case, I want to be specific and talk about the community that I first built. It was a community that promotes tech, startups, and design industries. So what we did is our main product is we gave workshops and taught people how to do, web design and mobile apps. We did have partners that did the actual training for us, and I just did the logistics and the organization, found speakers and sponsors. And in my meetups, the thing that I do is, and I learned this over the course of many meetups, my usual process is at the beginning, I usually ask everyone to introduce themselves every week. So we had a meetup every week, same day, same time. Friday evenings was what we did. Friday evenings from 7 to 9. That was the usual thing. Um, I always made an effort to find sponsors, so we have food and drinks, so people come, and it was a free meetup. So the meetup started with introductions, who you are, why you're here, and if there's one thing that you're looking for, like if I'm hiring somebody or I'm looking for a job. And we do that every week, regardless of if it's the same people that show up. And the reason why we do that is there's something else that changes in your life between this week and next week. And we want people to be able to share that with the community to facilitate fellowship. And it also helps remind people who the other members of the group are, because they may not have been paying attention last time. And my meetups were in person, so I always distributed name tags, just first name only, right? And then a lot of the people that attended in my meetups were geeks and a lot of introverts. So having the introductions, having everybody do it, having the name tags makes it easier. And then having food and drinks is a good way for them to lower their guard and start talking to people. Okay, so that's one time saving tip for me. I think that's what I'm going to share right now. Just one idea. What do you think?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. To have effective communication and the see the stickiness, specifically what you mentioned, that to retain the members, that they come again and again and they become a loyal member to the community. It's really important.
Yeah, the last question about, what is it that you need, or what are some of the challenges that you're facing? Because I want it to be practical. They're showing up because they want something. We want to know what that something is so we can provide for it, right? And that's why they come back, because they're like, I'm looking for somebody, or I'm looking for work. And most community builders are connectors. We can usually connect them to resources that can help them. So Hamza, do you have any tips to share?
Yeah, what I would say that this is a basic human need to communicate to in the society to build social connections. You see, each social interaction is a social experiment, I would say, what I think.
Mhm.
We learn from our social interactions, either it is on the Zoom, on the Bevy, it's in person, physical meetups. So we tend to learn. There is an urge, and there's you see, a kind of hunger to learn from the people, yeah, to learn more and more from the social interactions as well. So in developing countries like in my country, there is huge scope of building communities around the technology geeks, either they are professionals from any walk of life, field of the from any field professional. So there's huge scope here as well. And again, the time saving tips from my side would be, yeah, the follow up emails. We use CMX, so it is a complete all in one tool we use for the follow up emails and for providing them with the essential information to how to join the event from the registration process till the follow up process. Right? So it pretty much does everything automatically. Huh? CMX Bevy. Yeah.
You use
So
Bevy right now for your community?
yeah, yeah, yeah. For CMX events, for CMX events, not
Okay.
for the sorry.
Are you also a CMX host?
Yeah, I'm CMX host Rahul Pindi from my city. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
know you're always on
Mhm.
point. Thank you,
Yeah.
Hamza.
Thank you.
So Denise?
Well, I'm not going to have much to share because I'm learning, right? So I think the best thing that I could share right now is to reach out, find these types of tools and resources and learn and build your community around building a community.
Right. Uh, and I highly encourage it, because there's been a lot of innovation and new things that have happened over the past 2 months, 2 years alone, because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of resources, and sometimes it gets confusing. And so I'm glad that you're showing up here, because don't be afraid to share the challenges that you have, because inevitably there's going to be someone that has been through your challenges and can offer opinions, you know.
Mhm.
And that being said, it may not apply to you, but some ideas, and I think, at least for me, what works best for me is to have someone to brainstorm with, right?
Mhm.
That's always key. And the practice that I learned from Rosie, Sherry, and all these senior community managers is we try to be available for our own community professionals, because sometimes just brainstorming with one person helps you just arrive to where you want to go, because it gets
Mhm.
confusing sometimes.
Mhm.
So I want to offer, because we have a little bit more time, since Hamza and I have been Connect hosts for a long time, maybe Denise, you can talk about some of the challenges that you're dealing with right now, and we can brainstorm together if you like.
Sure. I wouldn't call anything that I'm dealing with right now challenges, because I'm going in with that mindset that there's just a lot to learn.
Right.
So um, I I guess I don't know what to ask other than um,
I'll
you
ask you
know
questions.
it's sure.
Okay, so you mentioned that you have read the book The Business of Belonging, that you took
Yeah.
some courses with Seth Godin, and that you've already done two cohorts. So tell us about what the cohort did, what course you
Mhm.
were teaching, or what your community is about.
Yeah. So uh, I reached out to peer professionals through LinkedIn and offered them an opportunity to join a cohort. The cohort's intent was, one, to bring together a small group of patient experience professionals from across the US so they'd get to meet some of their peers, but together they would also create a tool or resource that would be valuable for them and can be shared in the community when the community is live in January. So the second cohort is ending this week. They were two 6-week cohorts, fantastic group of individuals. I had people from truly across the US join. Each of them decided to create videos using Doodly, the whiteboard animating tool. And so we collectively, the first cohort actually created 2 videos, and those are going to get shared out on LinkedIn as I send out my offer of join the PX community. And so they'll get to see what have their fellow um, peers done as part of the community.
Okay, what's the
So
name of your community again?
the PX community, and
Okay.
PX stands for patient experience.
And for those of us not in healthcare, can you explain a little bit what that is?
Yeah, patient experience. When you think about being a patient in healthcare and everything that touches you and affects your overall experience of seeking care or receiving care, patient experience professionals in the US are working with their organizations to enhance that experience. So we survey our patients based on what our patients are telling us. We then work with different groups across the organization to improve whatever it is our patients are telling us is a challenge, whether it's access to care or something else. And so in the US, there are many patient experience professionals, and I believe that there are actually many across the globe as well. I think that's been an industry that's picked up quite a bit over the last decade.
And there's no industry organization.
There are organizations, they don't have a sense of community. So they're more thought leadership. You go to their websites and you can pull some of their resources, but you don't have a community voice in the development of those resources and or with meeting your peers. So the main organization that people go to often started a couple years ago something that they call the Connect, but it's just a forum feed. So people put a question out there and others can respond to it, but there's no connection, no gathering, no weekly let's chat or specific topics that we're working on. And it isn't a let's create resources together. And so this will actually enable us to come together in true community um, to create resources that any of us can use. Right now, many patient experience professionals are very isolated. They're one only person in their organization, and this will help them feel like they've got more people supporting them.
Wonderful. Have you thought about the business model and the sustainability of the community?
I have been thinking about that. One of the things that Tina, I didn't do is every time I tried to step in to put any formal business plan together, it just felt daunting. And so what I've decided is I'm building that as I go. I'm stepping in, I'm testing the waters, I'm using what I learned to create what will be that broader business plan going forward. Fundamentally, my plan is one, having that site that we can come to together, and then having events. So, whether it's a monthly event or weekly events that people can join. Initially, these will be virtual. In
Mhm.
the future, I would love to have a strong enough group that we could have localized in person meetups as well. Um, and so from that, what I keep telling myself is the community is going to help me build this community. So I'm going to hear from them what works, what doesn't, what we need to shift to, and I'm just going to be very agile in how I create.
Fantastic. What do you think, Hamza?
Again, I would say potential in communities around some specific areas like uh, this terminology. The patient experience is new to me actually. I've come to know about this specific field of from the healthcare industry. So yeah, definitely in the whole world, in the developed countries as well, there's huge need of of making a place where people can meet digitally or physically, and the community professionals or people coming in this field and actually seeking education and training to how to build communities is really nice to know actually.
Yeah, I'm very excited because you're very thoughtful and careful about the way you move forward with your community. And so you already have Mighty Networks right now?
Yes, so I purchased it last month when they were running a special, and the cohorts needed to finish before I could jump in. But this week I've been doing they have an accelerator course, so I'm taking that course and just giving really good thought to what topics and groups I would go live with. I want to keep it very small so that those first group individuals who come in are not overwhelmed, and again can give some really good concise feedback to what should be developed within the site.
It's fantastic. Guard the quality, and you're absolutely doing the right thing. No need to make a big noise about it because it's this early stage that will determine kind of who your advocates or founding members are going to be.
Mhm.
Because remember, you are a part of the community, even though you started it, you deserve support.
Mm.
And so never think that you're just going to give, because it's not sustainable, especially since there's no, it's free right now, right? There's
Right.
no, they didn't pay for the cohort, even though you organized it, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, and the same people are in your industry. They're probably not thinking sustainability and business model also. But that was one of the biggest lessons I learned when I formed my community, because I also didn't think what the business model was going to be. And we ended up being, we were sustainable. I didn't become a millionaire, but there's ways you can do in the beginning that will increase your chances of being sustainable faster. And I think you're doing the right things now. So my observation is you actually already have a community. You said, I'm going to announce it next January. I'm like, no, you already have a community. And so next year is just publicizing it to a bigger group. And
Mhm.
then for me, when I can tell you my experience,
Mhm.
when I first started doing the small meetups, I was very clear every day as to my why, right? You know,
Mm.
I keep saying that every time I do a meeting, I'm doing this because I want to share what I know and I want to encourage the young people to learn tech and startups. You keep saying your why because you attract the right kind of people to you, right? And then
Yes.
from that, I actually found my business partners from those early advocates because as they got to attend my event and they liked what I was doing, they said, "Hey, how can I help?" Or "Hey, I have a conference room," or "Hey, my CTO wants to speak. We're happy to host the next event in our office and we'll take care of the speaker and the food," right?
Great.
So those
Yeah.
are the people I ended up working with. I made it easy for them to approach me, and I'm also not shy. I will say, "Hey, if you have ideas for speakers and topics in the future, please let me know. And this is our community. What works for you? What do you need? Please give me feedback because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I like to do."
Right.
Right. And so I usually start with, like, when I ran out of topics, I will say to my community, I used meetup.com and Facebook groups at that time. I would say, these are the 5 topics that I'm personally interested in. What do you guys think? Do you know a speaker? Do you know a better topic? So I know I can do those 5 things, but I'm using my community as a way to validate what's useful for everyone, which
Mhm.
also invites their participation,
Mhm.
right? And the more
Right.
I got to know these people, it was very easy for them. They were CEOs of companies, like software development companies. It was very easy for us to say, "Hey, let's." The driving factor that we formalized our organization was that the government came to us and said, the Department of Information and Communications Technology in the Philippines came to us and said, "We know you're doing these events to promote startups. We're supposed to promote startups. We don't really know what it is, but you guys do. Can we partner?" And
Mhm.
I was like, "No, I don't want to work with government." I was afraid, but I worked with good people. The director used to have his own software development company, and they could not work with me unless I was a registered entity. So we had to form a nonprofit organization, and those CEOs that I was working with, I consulted them, like, "Hey, the government wants us to do this." Like, "Okay, let's do it." And so we did that. That's how we started. But it was very we didn't have to test. It was a real thing. There was a need to do it. There was a need for it. Was our community that said we want to do more events. There was a sponsor, the government, that said they wanted to partner with us. So the business model and the business got built because of there was a need. We didn't have to come up with, let's do a subscription, because I had no idea what that was. But now you will hear articles about how communities make money, right? So
Mhm.
there's the freemium model, and Femtech Focus is a nonprofit that I was working with for women's health. We did start with free events, Denise, and they brought me on board because they wanted to do a conference and they also wanted to monetize. They had a very popular podcast. They're like, "How do we make a business out of this audience that we have? We have a lot of audience members." So we said we tested out Facebook groups and LinkedIn, but there was not a lot of traction there. So I
Mhm.
said, let's just try a brand new tool like Mighty Networks. Let's use that as a container for our community. And because the founder kept doing free events and we had podcast listening parties, and we started talking to them, "Hey, we want to do more of these paid events." We recognized from the training that a lot of our members, listeners, were founders and they wanted help with fundraising. So we did, for the month of January in 2020, we did a free 2021, actually. I can't remember what it was, but we had like a month full of events on fundraising. It was free,
Mhm.
right? And we
Mhm.
had a lot of traction. We're like, "Oh, guess what? You like this topic? We can then dig deeper into this topic next month, and it's going to be intense, and it's a paid course, or it's a paid event."
Mhm.
And we used Mighty Networks for that.
Mhm.
So you had a
Very
free
cool.
membership that's open for everybody, and the ones who are serious, the ones who I call super fans. So right now, what you have are fans, right? And the ones that come and show up and contribute, though I call them super fans. There's many different
Mhm.
names for it. And then they're the ones that will kind of help you drive what's going to happen next to your community. Always co-create with them and start identifying 2 or 3 people that you can bring on board to serve as your either founding members or like close advisors,
Mhm, mhm.
that kind of stuff. So you're not, so you validate the things that you're doing next and they're in it, right? So you're not the only one driving it.
Right, right. That's good.
Yeah. So moving forward, I envision that some of the tools you create will be a way for people to find you so you can have a bigger group.
Mhm,
And then later on, you know what I'm getting at? When people are more interested, then you'll have more in-depth courses, and those people who
mhm.
wrote the videos will be the ones teaching it. And then it's a
Right.
group thing.
Yep, yep, yep. That's great. Thanks, Tina.
You're welcome. Anything else? I can talk forever.
I had really hoped I was coming today to more listen than to speak.
Well, this is kind of office hours too, so it's an opportunity to speak to the specific challenges that you're building. I can talk a little bit about what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I started communitymanagementinstitute.com because I really wanted to have a conference and bring all the course creators together and let them pitch their courses, and then the audience
Uh,
members, I hope, would get some scholarships from these training programs. uh, A, because I want the community professionals to get training, and B, I also wanted the corporations that are hiring people to trust that community managers are highly contributing members of their team, because it's a relatively unknown or newer job title for some of these traditional companies, right?
mhm. Right.
And my dream is to one day have a tier one university offer a certificate course on community management.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, credentialing, so that then the traditional companies that we have to work with will understand what we do and give us a raise, because yeah, I had experience in this when I was in the business continuity field. I worked with a recruitment firm, and our study showed that if you had some kind of certification, you generally earn like 10 to 15% more
Mm,
than those that didn't. It's not going to guarantee that you're going to be the best community manager, obviously, but when you have to work with companies with budgets, there's
mhm,
a checklist like, why should we give Tina a raise?
mhm.
Versus somebody that you know, didn't have that. And
Right.
also, it's good for our industry that it shows maturity and improves the quality, right? Because how do we? It's a very popular industry. A lot of people are calling themselves community professionals, and we don't know. But that's also kind of the good thing about being a community professional, because you kind of have to be very flexible and go with the flow kind of person in order to do this work, right?
Yeah.
Hyper, welcome. If you want to contribute or share some tips, we'd love to hear from you. Okay. All right, let's see. Are you trying to get on board? I can't tell. Piper. Oh, let me catch up with this conversation. Okay. We're just sharing some tips and sharing specific, giving feedback to Denise on the community that she's building. Piper works for Gravity Interactive. They're a big outfit that helps companies run their community programs,
Oh,
and they also do a lot of digital marketing programs. Or so they essentially like a partner for companies if they want to outsource their website building or managing their community or helping with community strategy.
Looks like she was happy for how you talked about her.
Yeah. What city are you in, Denise?
I'm in Seaview, Washington. So
Oh,
Washington State, right on the coast.
cool. Very cool. Were you a patient experience professional?
For about a decade. I
Oh
worked
my,
in healthcare for 25 years.
yes, yes. So, yeah. Piper, did you want to chime in? Otherwise, I would be happy to just give you back some of your time and end early.
That works for me. Tina, this was great. And Hamza, it was wonderful to meet you as well. Thank
Okay,
you.
that sounds good. So, in that
Mm.
case, we're very practical here. We shared some experiences about saving tips. We helped Denise brainstorm some ideas for her community. We're excited for you, Denise. Reach out to any of us if you have any further questions. Piper,
Awesome.
thank you. Hamza, thank you. Denise.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Denise.
One,
Bye-bye.
we have one in December. We're going to talk about software platforms for communities.
Oh,
Please,
excellent.
please, please.
Yes.
Okay. Take
Sounds
care.
good. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.